we're going to be bringing on Dr. Dr Corsi. He has been chronicling the QAnon correspondence on 4chan and 8chan. He's also been covering a lot of the censorship that's going on between Google and YouTube against conservatives, libertarians, same with Facebook. So, Dr. Corsi, thank you for coming on. Welcome. It's good to see you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I heard
Great
that.
to be with you.
Awesome. Thank you. So I heard that your account, and I have a couple of your articles that you've written recently for InfoWars talking about censorship, and I'd like to kind of get flesh these out with you in a moment, but I heard recently that your YouTube account was actually completely removed. It was censored at first, but now it's been removed.
Yeah, today. I mean, I went in about 2:30 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon and went to use Google, and I found the Google email account had been canceled for misuse. Then I went over to YouTube, and the YouTube channel had been completely removed for unspecified violations of YouTube's community guidelines. Well, whatever those were, I mean, it's like, you know, you've been canceled. We can't tell you why. No explanation, no recourse, no appeal, no anything else. You're done. You're unplugged. Goodbye. That's and you know, the irony is, I've had a YouTube account for years, and it's only been in the last month, since really February 4th, I've been posting articles and really posting on the QAnon and posting on support of Donald Trump. And suddenly the YouTube censors were down my throat. And in the last 3 or 4 days, since this new YouTube purge has occurred, and I'm convinced YouTube intends to get rid of all conservatives, all supporters of, they're going to say taking down conspiracy theorists. No, they want to eliminate all supporters of Donald Trump. YouTube's come to the conclusion that Donald Trump ran and won last 2016, largely because of the support on the internet. So YouTube feels like if it can remove the internet support, censor, and they brought in the Southern Poverty Law Center. I mean, it's one of the most corrupt groups in America.
I wrote down because if I'm not mistaken, the SPLC is effectively policing YouTube now. Like I believe that you wrote that they're the thought police for YouTube, but on their hate watch, they have David Horowitz, who is a conservative Jew. He's not. I don't see how he's a hateful person. They have Mike Cernovich. Mike Cernovich doesn't say anything hateful in any way. Nothing even really controversial. It's pretty conservative for the most part. And Stefan Molyneux, who's not even alt-right. He's not far-right at all. He's a libertarian, just the same as most of the people here at InfoWars. So the fact that they're bringing in the SPLC, like you said, the SPLC is clearly a hate group in their own right. What do you see? Because YouTube has come out and they've said, oh, it looks like we've accidentally eliminated some conservative accounts, but to my knowledge, they haven't reinstated any of them. Do you see YouTube reversing any of this, or do you see the signs that they're not going to?
No, it was no mistake. I mean, the intent, first of all, you got to understand that too, the hard left, and YouTube has gone now to the communist, Eric Schmidt, top consultant for Hillary Clinton, put millions of dollars in Hillary's campaign, helped to fund the Fusion GPS deal through the use of the internet, with the saying basically Fusion GPS dossier could be used to back the FISA grant of electronic surveillance of Donald Trump. Eric Schmidt was involved in that. And I called out Eric Schmidt when I was reporting on QAnon that Eric Schmidt's under threat from Donald Trump on this executive order signed 12/21/17 to confiscate all of his assets, as one of the people involved in corruption and clearly involved in the lying and pushing forward this illegitimate Fusion GPS in order to discredit Donald Trump, initially during the campaign and then subsequently as a method of impeachment for Russian collusion. Now, you've got to realize that when you're dealing with Eric Schmidt and YouTube, it's the hard left. So therefore, anything we say supporting Donald Trump is hate speech. As far as they're concerned, they're going to get the SPLC. That's their standard. And with the SPLC, there is no tolerance on the hard left for the First Amendment. Now, Eric Schmidt wants to ride this horse. Eric Schmidt's going to, ride this horse and die by this horse, because this horse is going to ride right into the FTC, and we're going to see if we can impose a Internet Bill of Rights upon these Google and other large giant monopolies and begin breaking them up. They want to deny free speech to anybody they politically disagree with in order to defeat Donald Trump. I would say, Eric Schmidt, you better recalculate. That's going to be a very hard road to travel. 1 month I was on actively on Facebook, and today they pulled my channel entirely, confiscated my money. I have no idea. They owe me several $1,000s for February. It's the only month I was active. I had no idea what's happening to that. They should either pay it to me or refund it to the people who paid it to me. Eric Schmidt shouldn't steal it. With all of his billions, I don't think he needs my measly few dollars. But if he wants them, God bless him. Let him steal the money and censor the account.
Exactly. And I want to ask, do you think that this, with YouTube and Google, because you mentioned that they're on the hard left now, and that's, clearly associating with the SPLC, for example, do you think that it's a purely ideological push on their part, or is this, because I know in a couple of your articles, you mentioned that it seems like they might be working for the CIA, which would lead to another question that a lot of people would ask, because a lot of people, like, conservative Ben Shapiro types, they want to say that what you might want to attribute to malice should be attributed to stupidity. But I don't think that's true. So could you explain what interest Google and YouTube have in cooperating with the CIA and other government agencies to curtail free speech of conservatives on the internet?
Well, first of all, the Google was largely funded by the CIA. Eric Schmidt's a CIA creation. He's a spook. Eric Schmidt thinks spook. Every click you make, the Sting song, every click you make goes immediately to the NSA and to the CIA. Eric Schmidt has had that deal with the devil from day one. And then the second thing Eric Schmidt did is he offered to give all this data to Hillary Clinton and her campaign, not to Barack Obama. So the Google is a CIA operation. Your data is being observed, censored, and reported, whether you know it or not.
Okay. And so I guess that would kind of play into this argument that Google, because a lot of people, again, the types that want to say that the free market should be left to its own devices, but it should be noted that Google and YouTube are not private companies, in that they do receive this money from the CIA, the NSA, or other government agencies that we may not be aware of. Because I don't think that a lot of people acknowledge that or are even aware of it, because they push for these laws like net neutrality, which you also mentioned, and that's something I want to see, because a lot of people don't understand what it is. Most people don't know what net neutrality is. They take it at face value. So here, in a minute, if we could go into what net neutrality is, what the Internet Bill of Rights is that you've been talking about, I think that would be great. But so, just so I'm understanding it right, Eric Schmidt is a CIA asset, creation of the CIA, also working to use YouTube and Google to send data back to the government. So is it a circular thing? Is that what am I understanding it correctly?
Yeah, it is. Look, the government, the NSA is basically collecting data in all conversations in the United States, whether by electronic means, cell phone, or email or text messages. And Google gives them the data on microdata on who you are in order to profile you and put that together with the messages you're communicating. So now the government has a complete profile of you that's on you. This is the PRISM system that Eric Snowden reported on. Now, the hard left, which is what, and people make the mistake of thinking the CIA is conservative or right wing. It's not. It's New World Order. It's globalist. So it aligns with the left. So when you get Soros funding, and read Google, read Hillary supporting Eric Schmidt, who aligned with Hillary, wanted to be her top advisor. Outside advisor gave her all the data from Google to do her micro-targeting for her to get out the vote. This is the hard left today, the Soros-supported hard left is intolerant. It's intending to, send us who disagree with them to the gulags. Had Hillary won, I wouldn't have just been thrown off of YouTube, which is kind of a badge of honor these days. I'll be one of them first among the purge. And by the way, Eric Schmidt, if you really need the money, go ahead and keep it. Because I think Donald Trump is planning to, with Google, and I'm going to do everything I can to support Donald Trump in this effort, put Google under antitrust action, break it up, examine Eric Schmidt's role with the Fusion GPS in criminal violations in the Clinton campaign and FEC financing. I mean, bring it on. Doesn't bother me. I was only on Google for 3 weeks posting on QAnon. I got so scared they had to cancel my account and confiscate my money.
I want to get into QAnon because here in a few minutes, I'd like to, like I was saying a minute ago, I'd like to get into net neutrality, Internet Bill of Rights, and
sure, we can explain
the FTC and everything. But first, so you describe briefly, because I think for a lot of people, it's so, with the intelligence that QAnon has been putting out there, for the audience, describe what you were saying, what you were spreading, the information you were spreading about QAnon that was so dangerous that YouTube had to cut you off the site completely.
Well, QAnon's, I think, a top intelligence agent, and what he pointed out was that Eric Schmidt and his involvement with SpaceX was giving missile technology to North Korea. That was a clear accusation. That was involved in this campaign financing scheme with Hillary Clinton and Fusion GPS. Donald Trump, with the executive order signed on 12/21/17, can confiscate all Eric Schmidt's money. Scared him deeply. He resigned the next day from Alphabet. He's going to become a teacher at MIT. Went into hiding. Eric Schmidt can't hide from me, especially not now. They want to call me out. They want to fight. If Eric Schmidt wants to go to the playground and duke it out, let's duke it out. We'll duke it out in front of the FTC. We'll duke it out with lawyers on libel. We'll duke it out in antitrust. If Eric Schmidt thinks he can be a punk and just arbitrarily, without recourse, unknown agents say, 3 strikes, you're out, you're no longer qualified to be on YouTube, I'm pulling your plug in the middle of the afternoon and keeping your money. Eric Schmidt, think twice. You've got a federal grant, a broadband space. You want to preserve that. We want an Internet Bill of Rights. We don't want net neutrality, Soros rules, which meant you were free to censor. Oh, I'm a private organization. Well, great. You're a private organization. You get 0 bandwidth. Broadband canceled. If you want that, you're going to have to comply with the Internet Bill of Rights and the freedoms we have as Americans, which include not arbitrary censorship, not arbitrary exclusion from your little privileged channel of leftists. You want to do a cooking show? Fine, Eric will be happy to have you. Come here. This is YouTube. Everybody welcome. 1 billion viewers, and then suddenly, oh, I'm sorry, conservatives not allowed to apply, especially before the 2018 midterms. We're going to get all the conservatives out of here so that we can dominate this channel, which we've created, Eric Schmidt, in order to propagate a hard left communist agenda. By the way, Eric Schmidt, why don't you think you're going to be one of the first of the useful idiots to go to the gulag? Who's going to protect you when the communists turn on you? I mean, this intolerant, anti-First Amendment attitude of YouTube is got to stop. And it's going to be stopped. First of all, net neutrality was repealed. Net neutrality did not apply to the internet giants. It did not apply to Google. Didn't apply to Facebook. Didn't apply to Twitter. Didn't apply to YouTube. It only applied to internet service providers like AT&T and Verizon. Well, big deal. They had to get your censored content on an equal basis as if it had legitimacy. Give me a break. I want to let you know, Eric Schmidt, right now, if you're listening, if you're not, let your minions, let your SPLC minions communicate the message to you. You chose how to fight. You want to fight? Fine. You want to fight against the First Amendment, against the freedoms Americans have traditionally enjoyed, against due process. You got some little jerkhead who's unidentified pulling my plug this afternoon without explaining why, messing up my Google account. You can take this whole Google thing and we'll throw it in the Potomac River. I'm happy to pursue this all the way through FTC. Eric Schmidt, you wanted an enemy. You just chose one out. And I'm happy to duke it out with you, Eric Schmidt, in every court in this law, in this land, if we have to do it. And we're going to proceed with examining your ability to have this little stupid billion-dollar franchise and run it with your little left-wing political agenda supporting communist ideology and intolerant expression of free speech. You want to decide that conservatives can't be on your site. It's okay if terrorists are on your site. It's okay if people say intolerant things against Donald Trump, hate Donald Trump, threaten Donald Trump. You don't exclude them. Let's have a thorough examination of who you exclude and who you don't exclude. Why do you pick the SPLC to be your arbiters? I'm happy to go round for round on you, inch to inch. Let's line it up and examine it. So I think you're anti-American. I think you're anti-First American. I think you're intolerant. And I think you're a communist leftist.
I think it's particularly interesting that because, a lot of times when you're hearing about the Fusion GPS stuff and you hear Eric Schmidt and then you hear about the censorship and you hear Eric Schmidt, a lot of times those two don't necessarily connect. But it's interesting how woven together this corruption is, because every time there's some scandal, every time that there's some sort of disgusting swamp business going on, you always see one or two players that were involved in everything else. It's this network of disgusting corruption, this anti-American, communist, leftist garbage. So that makes sense why Eric Schmidt would want to shut down people exposing his behavior. What exactly? Because I don't think that a lot of people really understand what net neutrality is. I know that it regulates ISPs. It says that you can't discriminate. The thing is, you can tell what it's about by who supports it, because people all over Reddit. Reddit's very left wing. Yeah. Google, YouTube, they're all backing it. So could it really be that good?
Net neutrality was pretty simple. It was Soros supported. It said that the internet service providers, which were AT&T, Verizon, Comcast, had to carry every content provider on an equal basis. Couldn't charge specially, couldn't disadvantage, etc. But the content providers were not required to be net neutral. They could censor to their heart's delight. Google could eliminate you because you dared to support President Trump, which to Eric Schmidt has to be a crime, just like you saw on the campuses where they were intolerant with you and InfoWars being there. They didn't, the campuses are communists, they're leftists. They've been indoctrinated by socialist ideology. And socialist ideology is not tolerant of the free speech. It doesn't want debate. They want to cast you as a hater, and they want to throw you into the gulag for thought reform. Hillary Clinton had won. I mean, thank God Hillary Clinton didn't win. At least tonight I'm just banned from YouTube. My money's stolen, but I'm not going to prison for a hate crime. You can pick another channel and continue on. But Eric Schmidt would have you condemned to the gulag. His supporters and the hard left would have us done so. Yeah, here's Eric Schmidt smiling. Yeah, Hillary Clinton in the bag supporter gave all the gulag data from Google. The Google gulag went immediately to Hillary and to the NSA and to the CIA, because Eric Schmidt is CIA up and down, in and out, through and through. Eric Schmidt is a spook. He made his money. He was built by the CIA. He's an intelligence operative. He's there to, like Soros, know every little secret you've got, every click you make, report it to the NSA, profile you in the big brother communist state. Now, if that's what we want, YouTube comes under, a nice little wolf's, sheep's clothing. Anybody can sign up here. You can run your videos. Yeah. Just don't run your videos saying, I like Donald Trump. Say, I want to hate Donald Trump. You go to the top of the pile. I like Donald Trump. You can't be here anymore. You're disqualified. You're a hater. We don't like you. Get out. You can't be on our playground. Well, you know what, Eric Schmidt? Read the First Amendment, because it's coming your way. It's coming down your throat. Read the Sherman Act, because antitrust and these monopolies controlling the internet, take a look at your money. Take a look at all the billions you've got, how secure it makes you. Go back and read the history of what happened to the robber barons in the 1890s. Go ahead and put a pencil in the eye of the Americans who believe in the Constitution and the Republic, and let's see what happens to your future.
I think it's pretty fascinating that these socialist types, because 99.9% of the people on Reddit are socialists, democratic socialists, just like Hugo Chavez was a democratic socialist. But that's beside the point. You can't get any more into a stereotype, into repeating history of these socialist movements, because once again, the useful idiots, the socialists, the foot ground troops they think that they're supporting the people's right to a free, open, neutral internet, but in reality, they're serving the corporate interests of Google, YouTube, Facebook, and the other big conglomerate internet organizations, because the only people that are going to, nothing would change for the ISPs, because the ISPs weren't discriminating against people before, so it's just saying that. But the only people that would lose money potentially if net neutrality was repealed, as it was, are Google and YouTube and other enormous corporations. So I just think that it's funny to point out again that the socialist foot soldiers are, as they always are, useful idiots. Now, we're about to go to break here in just a minute, and on the other side,
one point I'd like to make is that this purge is taking place by Google before the 2018 midterm election to get all the conservatives supporting Donald Trump off the internet, off YouTube, in order to have a conservative message blocked, under the idea that one of the reasons Donald Trump won was because conservatives like me on the internet supported him. So this is a conscious purge by Eric Schmidt and Google, power move to block conservative speakers from their little prestige CIA, NSA channel, in which millions, billion users are duped to thinking it's a fun place to be, when every click you take is given to the NSA and the CIA the moment you make it by Eric Schmidt.
Exactly. So we're going to go to break here in just a moment. And then on the other side, briefly, I want to hear your take on what we do to counteract this, what we can do to fight back against the censorship, how we can provoke the government to do something, Trump's administration, and how we can fight back now currently against YouTube and Google and other hard left factions trying to push conservatives off the internet to prevent another red wave in 2018. My name is Jake Lloyd. This is the Operation Paul Revere 2018 34-hour broadcast. Please go to InfoWarsStore.com to support us. Please support us. That is one way that I know of that you can fight back against this censorship. We'll see you on the other side with Dr. Jerome Corsi. Welcome back. Operation Paul Revere 2018, 34-hour marathon broadcast to expose the censorship that's going on, being waged against conservative, libertarian voices in the alternative media. And as always, InfoWars is taking the brunt of it. But as always, again, InfoWars, it won't stop with us. It's going further. I'm here with Dr. Jerome Corsi talking about censorship. He's been dealing with a lot. Before we go back to him, because I want to briefly throw back to something I said earlier, because this is a news headline. I was talking earlier about how you should argue with liberals, how you shouldn't capitulate to them, because when you do capitulate to them, you get articles like Child 4 years old, world's youngest ever sex change patient. Activists push agenda to lower the transgender age despite dangers. So that's just a little article headline that will show you what happens when you argue with the left, like Mitt Romney and John McCain. You lose and you end up with 4-year-old trannies. So that's that. So Dr. Corsi, to summarize what we've been talking about here, I wanted to get your opinion on what, we got about 3 minutes left. So on what we can do as libertarians or conservatives or just anti-communists on how we can fight back against the censorship coming from the government and from the media.
Well, we have to fight back. We have to insist on the fundamental rights and freedoms we have as Americans. I strongly support this idea of extending to the internet this Internet Bill of Rights, and it's under the hashtag Internet Bill of Rights. In order to have the internet comply with the same First Amendment freedoms we have in other rights of speech. If you get a Google that can say we've got all this domination of the internet, all these billions of dollars in capital. By the way, wouldn't have had a penny, Eric Schmidt, had you not been first funded by the CIA. Read that, SPOOK, spook. That's the origin of YouTube. That's the origin of Google. This combination is a government-organized combination, and it supported Hillary Clinton lock, stock, and barrel, where it would have imposed the intolerant censorship on us all. This is a fight for freedom. It's a fight for preserving the rights we uniquely have as Americans, and I think it's going to have to be fought out in the federal district court on issues like libel. Saying that I'm a right-wing kook and my speech violated their community standards. Well, what are their community standards? They're so vague that Google can apply them against anybody they don't like politically. This is a witch hunt on their part, Google's part, an arbitrary process with no appeal. You don't know who your judges are. You don't know who made the decision. You don't have any phone numbers or anybody you can contact. And then your plug is pulled. Anybody who's on YouTube trying to make a political statement, unless you hate, you hate Trump, you want to support ISIS, you want to do a hard left agenda, I suppose Eric Schmidt will embrace you. Might even make sure you really have a profitable channel and does everything he can to support you. But that's the hard left politics here, and that's not what America's about. And if Eric Schmidt wants the right to broadband, the right to have what amounts to a utility, instead of having Soros rules like net neutrality, which gave Eric Schmidt the right to censor, that's why Eric Schmidt paid millions of dollars to support net neutrality, why Soros recruited Russian bots to do the FCC comment statements. That's the Russian bot collusion right there. I mean, look, let's get this duked out. Federal district courts, then before the Supreme Court, if we have to go there, to preserve free speech rights on the internet and to take these people who are enemies of free speech, like Eric Schmidt, just as straight through communist enemy of the free speech, hard left, doesn't intolerant, send us to thought camps, reform camps. Yeah, a nice smile, looks innocent, great tie. Read, you're going to the gulag. Eric Schmidt, communist CIA operative. CIA, NSA collect data on you, every click you make. Keep that in mind. And so we're going to fight it out. We're not going to roll over and let them just pull our plug. I'm going to be on Gab. I've started gravitating over to Gab. Follow me at Gab. I put it on Twitter. I'll be writing an article about it tomorrow. We're gonna migrate to a posting website. There we are. I've set that up on Gab. We already have almost 7,000 followers there. We're gonna pull people over from YouTube, and we're gonna pull people around the internet to a channel that will support us. And Andrew Dobra, who's the CEO and the founder of Gab, is going to work with us. We're going to create, I think, what's going to be a dynamic partnership and a much greater podium than we ever had at YouTube, where we were dependent upon the iron will of Eric Schmidt, who didn't like us, who hated us. Eric Schmidt's a hater, part of the Southern Poverty Law Center. And I want to tell you something. to be their cops. That's a hater organization. We need to fight this battle, and we need to fight it hard.
Well, I really hope that
the First Amendment and our freedoms as Americans to speak out.
I really hope that Trump will
in.
bring it to the forefront of the discussion on the national stage. I really hope that he'll take it in front of the Federal Trade Commission and that he'll expose it there. But for now, we're going to keep fighting for it with things like this marathon broadcast. Please support us at InfoWarsStore.com. Dr. Corsi, thank you so much for coming on to discuss censorship with me this evening. And I know that InfoWars will continue to cover the censorship that you've personally experienced. So thank you so much. I really appreciate your insight tonight.
Great pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good night.